Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 1 of HBO's The Last of Us, entitled Future Days. So, it's been just over 2 years since the Season 1 finale of The Last of Us, and while the events of Season 1 are no longer at the forefront of our minds, I'm sure we all still remember how much we enjoyed and appreciated it at the time. Generally, anything based on a video game has been pretty terrible, but this show brought in Craig Mazin. He's the brilliant mind behind Chernobyl, which is, for my money, the best limited series, miniseries, whatever we want to call it, of all time. And the results were there on the screen. This show was less about zombies and more about the nature of relationships in a post-apocalyptic zombie-filled world. Not only did we watch Joel and Ellie's relationship evolve beautifully over the course of the season, but we had the great Bill and Frank episode, as well as the episode featuring the brothers, Henry and Sam, whose paths crossed with Joel and Ellie and ended tragically. But it wasn't all good, like the season, at least not to some viewers. You know, for a zombie show, there was a surprising lack of zombies and little to no, like, real big set pieces for people who came for blood and guts and violence. And I didn't particularly care about that. You know, the story was so moving, the production quality so high, the performance is so powerful. I wasn't entirely lamenting the lack of action, but the lack of action was noticeable. I'm not going to lie. And I think that hurt the show in the minds of some people. So the challenge now for season 2 is, how do you maintain the aspects of the show that appease the snobby viewers such as myself, but also satisfy the bloodlust and violence of the psychopaths such as myself? So I don't know what the plan is to do that, or even if that's a goal of the team for season 2, but I am curious to see how the show will respond to those expectations. You know, a show based on a video game turning out to be some high-end shit is going to earn like ghost points with a lot of people. So like, I just made that term up. What do I mean by ghost points? Like, well, a lot of people are going into a zombie show or a film with low expectations. You know, they're just looking for something that's better. They're not even looking for that. They're expecting just straight action and violence and hoping for something that's a little bit more. So when you get something like this, something that does so much more, the show almost earns like these inherent bonus points for shock value. Like, wow, that's way better than I thought it was going to be. Those are the ghost points. Like, that don't really have anything to do with the quality of the show. It's just like, holy shit. Like, Baby Reindeer got a whole lot of ghost points because it was like, wow, that's way better than I thought it was going to be. So season 2, though, isn't going to get those points. There's not going to be any shock value here. There's not going to be any surprise. No bonus points for, wow, that was way more impressive than I thought. We're coming in expecting the same thing we got in season 1 at minimum, and ideally something that ups the ante even more. So how did the season 2 premiere do at meeting those expectations and setting the table for the season? Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. So, like I said at the top, it's been just over 2 years since the season 1 finale, and as if that wasn't long enough for most of us to forget what happened in season 1, we also have a 5-year time jump to start this episode that places us even farther away from the events of season 1. And they just kind of serve to obscure events that took place during that time period. Events that I'm sure are going to come to light throughout the course of the season, but obscured events nonetheless. And I want to say up front that I'm not a fan of that approach. That's cool if you recently rewatched season 1, but one, I bet most of us didn't do that. And two, I don't think you should craft your premiere on the assumption that we did. So, for example, we meet Catherine O'Hara's character Gail in this episode. She's a therapist that Joel is seeing. And she mentions that Joel killed her husband, Eugene, and she hates him for it. And both my wife and I immediately, we paused it and looked at each other like, do we know about this? Are we supposed to remember Joel killing her husband or whatever? And we quickly realized that the answer is no, because we've jumped ahead 5 years, and she said that this was her first birthday without him. So yeah, it all worked out. It made sense. It tracks, but that's not the issue. The issue was that pause and that reaction of, hey, wait, am I supposed to know about this? And and having to pause it and work through it. And I don't think the creators want us to be doing that. I would think that ideally they want us absorbed and engaged and not pausing it and wondering if we've missed something or if something is being withheld or not. So that's why I don't think the 5-year time jump was necessarily the best idea, following a long gap between seasons. The viewer doesn't know whether you're intentionally obscuring something or if it's something we don't remember because we last watched this 2 years ago. But having said that, that's pretty much my only critique of the episode. Yeah, I thought it was a fine episode overall. It was a necessary reintroduction and setting of the table, if you will, for this season. In fact, it was so much set up that I'm wondering if it wouldn't have been wise to possibly drop the first 2 episodes on week 1 rather than just this one. But I'm pleased with what it set up. I look forward to seeing how the events play out. And the action that we got in this episode was not only good to watch, but I think it raised the stakes and anticipation for the rest of the season as well. So we open the episode meeting Caitlin Deaver's Abby character right away. We're to understand that Abby and the others with her are survivors of Joel's Firefly massacre at the end of season 1. We see them burying their dead, and Abby in particular seems, no pun intended, dead set on revenge. I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think we're to understand that one of the dead people here, probably the doctor who was about to operate on Ellie, that Joel just he shot him in the head. I think we're to understand that maybe that character was her father, but one of these dead people is her father. And after we learn this and see what they're out to do, this is when we get the opening credits, and then we jump ahead to 5 years. So 5 years later, Joel and Ellie are in Jackson, Wyoming with Tommy's community. Ellie's now 19. We see her doing some fight training with someone who's 47 times her size. And when she learns this guy was pulling punches so as not to have to contend with Joel, we see our first clue that Ellie has a problem with Joel. Let me know in the comments how you interpreted what I'm about to say, but I wonder if this episode was clear with what Ellie's issue is. So on one hand, I feel like people are going to come away from it knowing she has an issue, but not knowing exactly what it is. Thinking it's something that we're going to find out happened during the 5-year time jump. And that, I think, is at minimum partially true and at most entirely true. But my interpretation of the events of this episode is that during that 5-year time gap, Ellie found out that Joel lied. She found out what actually happened with the Fireflies and what Joel did in order to save her. Now she, like Joel, is carrying the weight of knowing that a cure for all of humanity was potentially sacrificed just so that she, the one person, Ellie, could live. And it all plays to this idea of Joel protecting her, making decisions for her, and her feeling as if she doesn't need to be protected and she can make her own decisions and live her own life. He protected her from the Fireflies. She's alive. But the infected are still rampant and are apparently evolving into something that's even smarter than they were in season 1. And the guy she's supposed to be training with is going easy on her because Joel is protecting her. So also, in addition to that, that's just one of the things that was going on. Also, Tommy tries to take her off of a patrol and put her on a lookout duty at Joel's request. The guy at the end of the episode who calls her and Dina Dykes at the dance is attacked by Joel, again, protecting her. But she gets upset because she's still carrying the weight of him stepping in on her behalf with the Fireflies, putting all of humanity at risk or leaving them at risk. And hell, unbeknownst to them, they also have Abby and her crew arriving at the camp. And why? Because of Joel's actions to save her. So on one hand, he's like, I saved her life. What's she so mad about? Then on the other hand, you have Ellie seeing everything that has been sacrificed or lost because of her, because of Joel's decisions surrounding her. She's got no autonomy as an adult because Joel is so overprotective of her. And this is also partially what makes Abby's arrival at Jackson so compelling too. there's a scene in this episode where Joel has a disagreement with Maria, and Maria is Tommy's wife, played by Rutina Wesley. She was on True Blood. They have a disagreement about letting new people into the community. She tells Joel that they need to build faster. And Joel is like, well, maybe if your council would stop letting motherfuckers in, we wouldn't need to build so fast. And I think that's some pretty big foreshadowing that the woman, Abby, who has just arrived at Jackson to kill him, is probably going to get let in willingly. But all that to say, the question is, did you take away from the episode the idea of all of this undermining of Ellie by Joel and trying to control her and make decisions on her behalf? That is the source of the beef? Or did you take away that we don't really know what the beef is yet? That something happened in 5 years and we don't quite know what it is yet? Or is it something in the middle, like Ellie did find out, but the beef is something else that's added on to that? So let me know what you think in the comments. The big action set piece of this episode, it takes place on a patrol to Alpine. While doing some shooting practice, Tommy and Ellie observe an unusually high number of infected coming from the direction of Alpine. Ellie convinces him to disobey Joel, him being Tommy, to disobey Joel and put her on a patrol anyway. And she heads out with several others, including her friend Dina, played by Isabella Merced. There's a little smidge of sexual tension between the two of them that I honestly thought the show would drag out for a while, but they don't. The group arrives at the store in Alpine, and they find a dead bear and several dead infected. Ellie and Dina go inside on the pretense of investigating, but it's clear they really just kind of like want the adrenaline rush of easily dispatching of some zombies. However, after killing one, Ellie falls through the floor, and we're treated to a tense scene that kind of seemed to me to model itself after the legendary raptor scene from the first Jurassic Park movie. And just like the raptors from Jurassic Park, we come to learn that these new infected are tactical. They can set traps, they can bait you, they can lure you in. And that's what happens. Ellie gets tricked and she gets bitten. And we the audience blow it off because she's immune, but I think this is a different type of infected here. Like, it would be a nice surprise if we come to find out she's not immune to this type of infected. Like, just like they've evolved, maybe they've evolved into something that she's not immune to. Like, maybe she starts to, maybe not instantly get sick like everybody else would, but maybe she starts to slowly get sick and slowly turn rather than having it happen quickly. I also like the scene where we see her stitching herself up, because at first I thought she was trying to like cut out like some tentacles or something like that. And maybe she was doing that too. But I think we're to understand that she cut herself like along the bite marks and then stitched that up to hide the fact that it was an actual bite. Because if somebody says, hey, let me see what happened, she can lift up her shirt and it just looks like a random cut that she stitched up rather than a bite. But she informs the council that this happened and about how the zombies have evolved. But of course, she doesn't mention that she was bitten. Finally, we arrived at a New Year's Eve. I'm going to call it a dance, but it's like, it's like just a party that everybody in the town seems to have come to. Well, I'm not going to say everybody. The party looked kind of dead. But they've been talking about it all episode, asking Ellie if she planned to go to it or whatever. And we meet Dina's ex there, who I believe is the guy who plays Stephen Yeun's brother in Beef. But he seems like he's going to be fun again. He was fun on Beef. Seems like he'll be fun on here. He mentions how he's certain that him and Dina won't get back together, which was, I think, meant to inform the audience that he knows that Dina likes Ellie. And sure enough, they have a nice kiss on the dance floor. You got the light, slow music, the slow motion bokeh coming from the lighting in the background. And it's really interrupted by the guy that I mentioned a little bit earlier, calling them dykes, saying it's a family event, being a general fucking asshole. Joel attacks him. He just pushes him to the ground or something like that. And Ellie gets pissed at him in front of everyone. And the episode ends with Abby's arrival at the community. Abby, who has set out to kill Joel. And we also see tentacles coming out of what looks like sewage pipes as well. So a whole lot of bad has descended upon this town. We have the beef between Joel and Ellie. We have Abby having arrived to kill Joel. And then we have what seems like tentacles coming out of sewage. And then also ramped up, smarter and more tactical infected. So, like I said up top, mostly set up, but still an enjoyable episode to watch. No issues with it. They set up the tension between Joel and Ellie, Abby's goal killing Joel, smart infected, tentacles coming through the pipes. Yeah, so I covered everything. But again, not great, not bad, but not great. But that's also why I say maybe it could have used the second episode as well. Because when you come out of this first week, it's like, oh man, I've been waiting 2 years for this. And then you watch the episode and it's really kind of just like, here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna set up everything that's gonna happen. And it just kind of feels like it could have used maybe something a little bit more explosive to happen in this episode. Just kind of make it feel a little bit more worthwhile on its own. We could feel like we got something to feed on this week and not just set up for future meals. But that's what I thought about the episode. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And until next week, peace.